I need you to watch one of the most brutal clips of this election cycle thus far. Journalist Lulu Garcia Navarro presses JD Vance on whether or not Trump won the 2020 election, and you can see him visibly squirm as he does not know how to react. Now, JD Vance has given differing answers on this question before, when it should be pretty straightforward, right? It's pretty fundamental to whether or not our democracy can function. Who won the last election? For example, here are the good liars pressing JD Vance a few months back.
Who won the 2020 election? Could you just answer, did Donald Trump win, yes or no?
Yes.
He did win?
Yep.
So will you concede? Will you concede? If your opponent gets more votes, will you concede?
I really feel bad for you, man.
I just want to know, if your opponent gets more votes, will you concede?
He said in that clip, yes, Trump won the 2020 election, but now he knows how unpopular of a position that is, so he refuses to even give an answer. And let me just say, this is not a man who is equipped to be the vice president of the United States. This is not a man who is equipped to run a hot dog stand without lying and trying to stab the owner in the back to grab power. Let's watch this clip of JD Vance, but I want to unequivocally say that there was no election fraud in the 2020 election. Donald Trump brought 60 court cases, lost all of them, then doubled down on election day. And here's JD Vance continuing to play games.
In the debate, you were asked to clarify if you believe Trump lost the 2020 election. Do you believe he lost the 2020 election?
I think that Donald Trump and I have both raised a number of issues with the 2020 election, but we're focused on the future. I think there's an obsession here with focusing on 2020. I'm much more worried about what happened after 2020, which is a wide open border, groceries that are unaffordable. And look,
Senator,
Lulu,
yes or no?
Okay.
Did Donald Trump lose the 2020 election?
Let me ask you a question. Is it okay that big technology companies censored the Hunter Biden laptop story, which independent analysis have said cost Donald Trump millions of votes?
Senator Vance, I'm going to ask you again. Did Donald Trump lose the 2020 election?
Did big technology companies censor a story that independent studies have suggested would have cost Trump millions of votes?
Senator
I think that's
Vance,
the question.
I'm going to ask you again. Did Donald Trump lose the 2020
And I've answered
election?
your question with another question. You answer my question and I'll answer yours.
I have asked this question repeatedly. It is something that is very important for the American people to know. There is no proof, legal or otherwise, that Donald Trump did not lose the 2020 election.
You're repeating a slogan rather than engaging with what I'm saying, which is that when our own technology firms engage in industrial scale censorship, by the way, backed up by the federal government.
The one thing that Trump has taught JD Vance very well is shamelessness. Holy, this is so shameless. The way that he said, she's not engaging with the question, she's repeating slogans. Sorry, let's keep going.
Backed up by the federal government in a way that independent studies suggest affect the votes. I'm worried about Americans who feel like there were problems in 2020.
The Hunter Biden laptop stuff is absolute BS. They thought that it was Russian disinformation, and it very well could have been. Also, let me say that JD Vance is quoted citing these independent studies that don't exist. The Hunter Biden laptop story was not going to change millions of people's votes. I mean, people already knew who Hunter Biden was and all of his flaws before the election. That did not lose Biden millions of votes.
I'm not worried about this slogan that people throw. Well, every court case went this way. I'm talking about something very discrete.
Not a slogan.
A problem of censorship in this country that I do think affected things in 2020, and more importantly, that led to Kamala Harris's governance, which has screwed this country up in a big way.
Senator, would you have certified the election in 2020? Yes or no?
I've said that I would have voted against certification because of the concern that I just raised. I think that when you have technology companies—
The answer is no.
When you have technology companies censoring Americans at a mass scale in a way that, again, independent studies have suggested affect the vote, I think that it's right to protest against that, to criticize that, and that's a totally reasonable thing.
So the answer is—
All right, there's so much to break down here. JD Vance has just revealed himself as a threat to our democracy, a threat to the very foundation of our country. And let me explain, let me unpack it. Since the inception of America, there has existed a peaceful transfer of power where votes are counted. The Electoral College is tallied, it is certified, and then on January 6th, the peaceful transfer of power is conducted. The vice president has always done that. Everybody from Dick Cheney, Cheney, who, by the way, understands that role and then endorsed VP Harris, to Mike Pence, who also understands the role and refuses to endorse Trump, to now VP Harris. If we expect JD Vance to someday execute this peaceful transfer of power that is supposed to happen on January 6th, and he's saying stuff like this, that is a massive, massive problem. We cannot expect him to ever execute what Dick Cheney executed, what Mike Pence and what Kamala Harris will execute. This man is a threat to everything. And he doesn't even care if there are court cases. He calls it a slogan. He calls 60 different court cases with Trump-appointed judges a slogan, when that should be the end-all be-all. So this is someone who doesn't care what the courts say, doesn't care what anything says. He cites these independent studies that don't even exist, and he uses that as a justification to end American democracy. This doesn't even begin to touch Donald Trump's potential Schedule F executive order. Now, he tried to do this in his first term. He successfully did it in his first term, but President Biden repealed it, and Trump supporters always say, hey, Adam, can you name one thing from Project 2025 that Trump would enact? Well, he already enacted Schedule F executive orders. He would do that on day one because the Heritage Foundation has been training an army of civil servants that would take their place, take the place of civil servants who are actually qualified, and instead of going based off merit, they would go based off loyalty to Donald Trump. And if you don't believe that Donald Trump values loyalty, then look at Mike Pence. What happened when Mike Pence didn't subvert the will of the American people? Donald Trump sicked a mob onto Mike Pence. This all goes to show, I'm painting a broader picture here of a ticket that doesn't care about the norms that have existed for hundreds of years, that have existed since the inception of America. They only exist about their personal power. JD Vance is a prime example of that. Watch this insane clip of Trump ally Stephen Miller goading the crowd into being xenophobic and booing at brown people, immigrants.
Look at all these photos around me. Are these the kids you grew up with? Are these the neighbors you were raised with? Are these the neighbors that you want in your city? No. These are the criminal migrants that Kamala Harris brought into your community. And as swiftly as they came, Donald Trump will send them back.
That is some weird stuff, man. That is some weird stuff. They just have photos of immigrants on stage, and they're asking the crowd, are these the people in your neighborhoods? Are these your neighbors? Watch this clip of Donald Trump. In Aurora, Colorado, by the way.
Who has no clue what the hell is going on, I have to tell you. Did you see where she did a town hall yesterday and she used a teleprompter? I never saw a town. You don't use teleprompters. We don't use teleprompters, period, pretty much.
What he's saying is a lie. Both the fact that VP Harris used a teleprompter yesterday, that didn't happen, but also the idea that he never uses teleprompters. He always is using teleprompters. We'll probably see him look off to one right now.
You don't use them for town halls. Now.
This man is losing his mind, and here is more hatred being stoked at the same rally in Aurora, Colorado, which, remember, a few months back, there was that whole rumor about an apartment complex being taken over.
Playing two mugshots of two of the most heinous TDA Venezuelan gang members, and these people, they are so evil. They are not your run-of-the-mill criminal. They are people that are satanic. They are involved in human sacrifice. They are raping men, women, and children, especially underage children.
Not your run. This is some insane stuff. He's saying that immigrants are satanic. I just can't believe this. If you enjoyed this video, if you appreciate what I do, drop a like, hit that subscribe button. Have a great rest of your day. Peace out.